Hello everyone, it's Ben from the chair to give you a brand new video today, and I'm going to review a TV series today. I'm going to review Sherlock, Series 1. Hope you can see everything. I've got a light above me and everything, and you can see my new background. I've got some plated tints from my Christmas, and yeah, so they're on the wall now. We have a Paramount one, we have a 20th Century Fox one, a Cinema Night one, a MGM and a Paramount and a Universal like this. So there's going to be in the background for a while, if not ever. I might change it up, but yeah, getting back to Sherlock. This is written by Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss. They've always wanted to do this, and yeah, this is kind of a classic now, even though it's a reinvention. I love this show, but I wanted to review it. So let's start off with A Study in Pink. This obviously well-known stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes, Martin Freeman as John Watson, Rupert Graves as Detective Inspector Lestrade. We have Ursula Stubbs as Mrs. Hudson, Louise Brealey as Molly Hooper, Vinetti Robson as Sally Donovan. Yeah, so we have a really good cast here, and we have a good cast, and everyone seems to have good chemistry. The way it starts is John Watson comes back from Afghanistan. That's what's amazing about it. The original book started off like that, and the fact that you can still use that in the modern day setting is A, tells us something about wars, they never end, and B, it's true. It's kind of still going on now or it will restart at some point, you know. So, and then we kind of meet him, and he's writing a blog, not a journal. So they kind of easily twist things. They give Mrs. Hudson more to do rather than just the landladies popping out. They give her little things to do. I haven't actually read the books, but I do want to. But I just so Benedict Cumberbatch, we first meet him after the credits roll, and he's like literally beating up a corpse, and Molly's there. Molly is sort of not in the original books, obviously being a female, so she's like a lab assistant in the morgue, and she has a thing for Sherlock. And this is where the humour starts, because she asks him, "Is there anything you need?" And she goes, "And do you want to go for a coffee later?" Because she's kind of got the hots for him, and he's like, 2 sugars please, and just he totally misses that completely. Then it takes a while to get going, like it's breathing. It's good in a way, but and then we get a scene where Stanford and John meet, and then they kind of go to Sherlock in the morgue to meet each other, and then they go from there. Sherlock does what Sherlock does, and it reads John, and he's impressed. And it's quite funny because in this scene he goes, "Most people are most people impressed?" John says. He says, "No, most people are just having to piss off." So you know, that's the humour. That runs through the entire series. That humour, and it only gets deeper and more knowledgeable as the characters, not just John, but every character kind of gets to know Sherlock even more. It kind of grows and grows and grows. Then we have these murders or suicides that happen, and Sherlock is finally happy about that because he gets something to do. Even though Sherlock had read John, it took him a while to work out who the killer was, even though they ended up chasing it in the middle of the episode, and he doesn't think about every scenario. And I know this is the first episode, and you kind of see that you're trying to get to know Sherlock yourself if you're not a Sherlock fan, but I don't know why he doesn't notice everything, because he notices everything about John, but he just didn't think. I haven't read the book, so I'm not quite sure how it ends in The Study in Scarlet, but I just, you know, he doesn't always think of everything, and he thinks about it later, even when they find out near the end he's still a bit slow. And to be honest, everyone's slow in the end, because they are searching Sherlock's flat, and then the police are searching his flat, and under everyone's noses, they let Sherlock go, and nobody followed him. It's a bit weird. They don't, it's a bit. Even Sherlock said himself it was dangerous. So, I mean, I also forgot to mention that just after Sherlock and John meet, you have a brilliant misdirection with Mark Gatiss' character, who you think is going to be someone else, and who isn't. So that is a very tense scene, and played as if you're believing it's someone else. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Just is a get to know you piece, studying Pink, but still brilliant. I don't know. There's something about the setting of it being modern London. I quite like it, and Sherlock being more sassy, more up his own arse, but being brought down to earth by John and Molly and Mrs. Hudson. He has like a sounding board, for keeping him under control. That's kind of why I like Sherlock, because that's kind of me too. So, I have strong opinions, which is why I'm making YouTube videos. So, I kind of am akin to Sherlock in that kind of way, because he needs people around him. So, that's kind of the updatedness of it. And it just amazes me how well they can change things. And I do want to read the original books. I do have the Stephen Fry complete Audible collection, which I will put onto my Audible channel when I've read them, but it is about 70 hours. So that won't be for a very long time, but it is on my list to do. So that is A Study in Scarlet. It's a great episode. The surround sound isn't much, because I was watching it on the Blu-ray just now. Not much, it's just ambient sound with the rain and like theme music and cars beeping, and when you're on the street, it's not overwhelming, and it's not really used to that great effect. It is mainly using the front speaker and the subwoofer for deeper sound, but nothing too strenuous. So yeah, that is A Study in Pink. Now I'm going to move on to The Blind Banker next. So this is episode 2. I'm not going to say who this stars, because obviously we know it's Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman and Ursula Stubbs as Mrs. Hobson. So, and all the one thing I will say about who this doesn't star, this doesn't have Rupert Graves as Lestrade in it. You would think that being the second episode, you would ground him in the series, but for some reason they use a different person, not as a different detective. I don't know whether it's to show Sherlock struggled with people, or Rupert Graves wasn't available. I know sometimes in the stories that Lestrade isn't available, but you'd think, being the second episode of a TV show, you would ground Lestrade into Sherlock's world. It does feel a bit of a pull, and a bit of a weird choice not to have Lestrade in the second episode. This does star Gemma Chan as Su Lin Yao. She is works in the History Museum for Artifacts, where we meet her later. So anyway, this is about the blind banker. Sherlock and John are waiting for a case, and they're struggling for money. So John has an argument with a self-service checkout machine. Haven't we all? Because his card isn't working, Haven't we all had problems with that? So he leaves something behind, and Sherlock is like bored and stuff, and things are happening. And anyway, they get this case from someone in the banking world that Sherlock knows, and asks him to find out where one of his main bankers are, because he hasn't come into work, and they haven't found him, and bits and pieces. So Sherlock they ask him to come in because they find this note on the wall, these symbols. Sherlock just can't place where they're from. But it seems to be centered around these teapots that need to have tea in them. So Sherlock struggles and struggles to find out. He actually asks for help in this episode, which throws John completely. That he needs help. He asks one of his homeless networks, some person who likes to spray paint stuff, if he notices the symbols, and so he does. And it does take Sherlock a while to place it, but they end up going to this coffee shop and then realising over the road there's this Chinese shop, and when they're looking in and they look at prices, John spots this symbol and he manages to put it together. They realise it's a smuggling ring called the Black Lotus, who smuggle antiquities and sell them on the black market. And Sin Lon Yao is a former operative of theirs who is in hiding, and she's gone missing. And they're trying to find where she is. It's a good episode, but again, it shows Sherlock's struggle with, getting it deeper again because he needs help at this time to piece it together, not just from his own brain and the clues that are given. He needs someone else's help. And this, and this is the second episode where we, right at the end, are faced with Moriarty. I didn't say that just now when I was talking about the study in Pink, but this is the second time at the end of the episode Moriarty is mentioned. So that's good. The way they do that as well in the end is good. Sherlock realises that the Black Lotus is connected to a circus that is in town, and then all hell ensues there. The surround sound again wasn't the best, but it was okay. They give John a love interest from a doctor's surgery that has to be saved in the end by a magic trick, something akin from Jonathan Creek. But it was pretty good. Don't know whether they give him a love interest for something to do. Again, I've not read the books. I know obviously he married Mary in the end, but I'm not too sure, what to think about that. So it was a good episode, but again, I think it missed the camaraderie of Lestrade, because this other detective they use doesn't believe Sherlock, but it does show that Sherlock has struggled with people, so I'm not too sure. So it was a good episode, and it was more of a struggle and more of a deeper case than the study in Pink, but you'd expect that from a second episode. And yes, I've just realised how far I am away from the camera, so if anyone notices, I have as well. So yeah, so that is The Blind Banker. Now on to episode 3. So this is The Great Game, episode 3. The episode starts off with Sherlock in Belgravia, or I think it's Bohemia, in a prison, because he's trying to see if the case is worth his time, and the bloke really gets on his nerves by misspeaking of words. So he kind of leaves him there to die, and that's when the episode starts. John and Sherlock are bickering about the blog of the first case from the first episode, the study in Pink. So he calls it that, and they start bickering about Sherlock being not knowing about the Earth going around the sun and stuff like that. And he says that I delete things that aren't worth my time, and he said, well, this is like infant school stuff. So they're kind of bickering. John goes out and stays with someone he meets in episode 2, and then there is an explosion, and Baker Street is kind of windows are blown out by a gas leak. So I'm not going to go through the entire episode, because this episode is a rip-roaring ride. I don't want to go, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, because it will ruin the episode. I could skip over episode 1 and 2 and leave you with bits and pieces. But I don't want to do that, because I feel you know, this episode especially needs you to watch it and get it for yourself. So then he gets given a phone by Lestrade because he's rung up by Lestrade, and this phone has 5 pips on it, and he realizes that's 5 different explosions or puzzles that he needs to solve, and he gets sent a picture and he realizes it's from the flat downstairs, and these are a pair of shoes from his first ever case that he ever tried to crack as a kid. So whatever's going on here is deep. So yeah, and he goes from case to case, and every time somebody was in a car, somebody was in a block of flats, somebody was in like Piccadilly Circus, all strapped up with different bombs, and Sherlock has to solve each case. And each time they are reading a text from a phone through talking to Sherlock, so they're kind of forced to do it at an exploding point. Whilst that is happening, John is being sent off by Sherlock because Mycroft needs to find these weapon plans that are on a memory stick that have been lost or stolen, and Sherlock is too busy to do anything. So he sends John on the case as well. There is a scene where Molly gets a boyfriend and this creepy bloke turns up, and Sherlock says that he's gay, and it, you know, it's a brilliant twist there. Loved it. Creepy scene. And then, you know, it kind of solves everything, and Sherlock finds the memory stick, and it's all connected. Because in the end, we meet up with Moriarty, don't we? In an absolutely rip-roaring scene, Andrew Scott plays Moriarty, and he steals the scene. Absolutely electric between him and Sherlock. The psychology, the way he talks and then shouts and then goes quiet again, and it's just his manner of kind of Severus Snape-like, the way he can command something and say a lot with body language and without saying a lot. The acting style here reminds me of Alan Rickman from the Harry Potter series, really. Just that cold, that calculating look. And they do leave because this time as a bomb it is John. So we do actually leave the episode on a cliffhanger. Now it's okay for us because we've got the Blu-rays and it's finished, but back in 2010 when this was over, I think it was like, was it a year before, 2 years before series 2, so we had to wait to find out what went on. I mean, that was probably hell. I hate watching TV shows and a cliffhanger, but, you know, what was going to happen? Was John going to explode? Well, we know not, because obviously this is based on books and characters don't die in the first series, but we wanted to know how they were going to write themselves out or get out of it. And for a first series, it was balls to the wall for this episode. It was bang, 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 bang. That's why I am giving a kind of a brief overview at the beginning and then at the end. I want to correct something though, because I've just had a thought. In the study in pink, I forgot to say that these were Sherlock realizes are suicide. They're suicides, but he doesn't believe they're suicides. So he's trying to work out how they were given the poison. I didn't mention that before because I just forgot. But as this will be edited into one video, it will be okay. I just forgot to add that in. So that's one of his main things he can't quite grasp, because Lestrade thinks that they are proper suicides and Sherlock disagrees. But anyway, back to the Great Game. This is an absolutely brilliant episode that starts from the word go. They're bickering about the study in pink, like I've just talked about, because I remembered something, and off they go. I mean, everything always leads to something in this show. Nothing's ever put in there just for filler. Sometimes it can feel a bit slow, but there's a reason why. But they kept their powder dry, as they would say. For this episode, it was like bang, bang, bang. Brilliant. It was a brilliant episode. brilliantly done. Andrew Scott was amazing. I think this started to make his career, I think, because he did, after Sherlock, I think he did some movies. So, brilliant, brilliantly acted. Loved it. Yes, that's The Great Game. There is a special feature on here. Now, for any remnants of doubt, there's quite a few special features on it. It's, we have the exclusive pilot episode of Studying Pink. We have commentary for the first and third episode. We have Unlocking Sherlock, the making of this Studying Pink. So that is a 32-minute mini sort of documentary half-hour thing where they talk about how Sherlock coming back to the TV show, how Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat come up with it, how they were big Sherlock fans. So how they cast Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman and the set design and everything. It's really in depth in how they made series 1 of or The Study in Scarlet and how they it turned into a 90-minute thing rather than a 60. So it was a good special feature. Just to finish off, I'm going to show you the inside, and we have, just for remnants, no remnants of doubt, we have Sherlock there on disc 1, actually disc art, and we got John Watson on disc 2. We have the Study in Pink and the Blind Banker on disc 1, and then we have the Great Game and the special feature on disc 2. So that is series 1 of Sherlock complete. So yeah, please stay tuned for series 2.